So obviously you guys know that the reason why I wanted to do this is because I said to you that it's so important for me to express myself and share what's in my heart and share what's in my spirit and then reflect with people who I feel safe with. And so just by the tone of what I'd heard just now, I already know that this is really a good space for me to ask my questions and share what's in my spirit, and it's going to be a vulnerable space and an honest space and an authentic space. This is very important to me that things are real and very authentic, because I engage with lots of girls, especially lots of young people, and one of the things that's so important for them is that we show our true faces because they pick up on it, man. They pick up on when people are fake, and so this is why this is important to me as well. So maybe we just do a round of introductions, and because Brandon, you are right at the top, we'll start with you, and then we'll go to Kate, and then we'll go to Kirsten. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Brandon Lundy. It's very happy to be here this morning. Maybe a little bit about myself. I'm 30 years old. I have a passion for self-development and difficult conversations. I love reading, and I love kind of hanging out with my friends. But because of the pandemic, it's been a bit difficult. Maybe we'll chat on that also. But yeah, very happy to be here this morning. So excited. And yeah, that's me. I suppose we'll find more out as we chat.
Absolutely. Thank you, Brandon. Craig.
Hey, morning everyone, or afternoon, evening, wherever anyone finds themselves. Yeah, I'm Craig from the Eastern Cape in South Africa, East London. Currently based in Johannesburg. I don't know if I should maybe share how we really have connected, or do you want to get into that later?
So I'm actually going to do that. I'm going to speak on our relationship.
Okay, perfect. Cool. As Brandon's saying, his self-development is so close to his heart. Gratitude for me is one of the most beautiful experience that I've had over the past year, I would guess. A beautiful journey. Part of the Doubling Down Connect. And so excited to be on therapy.
Cool. And then you, Kirsten.
Hot seat. I am Kirsten Abrahams, also part of Doubling Down Connect, with my two beautiful friends, Brandon and Craig, my square squad. Brandon obviously says that he's onto self-growth, and Craig has his gratitude. What is very close to my heart is compassion in general. I kind of feel that every human being, we're all dealing with our own emotions, with our own struggles and things. And as much as you're dealing with your own, it's kind of a beautiful space to be in, to recognize that the other person is also dealing with something hard and something difficult. And just be compassionate towards that person. You know, even though they're mean to you or hurting you and stuff, they're probably in a space that's really difficult at that point in time. So yeah, I'm learning to practice compassion towards other people, and just kind of finding the light and love and silver lining around the world, or in the world in general, while living authentically. Yeah, 30, and that's me in a nutshell for now, I guess.
Yeah. I'm so grateful for what you just said, that you're still trying to see the compassion and you're still trying to see the good in the world, because this is really an ongoing thing, right? It just as soon as you think you found the good, and then the world or the news comes on, and then you see something negative, and you begin to question where's the humanity in the world. But I like that you are honest and that you're still constantly looking for it, man. I really appreciate that. So I'm so glad to have you guys on. It's great. And so you guys are part of Doubling Down, right? And so maybe just tell me what this means. What is Doubling Down? Where does it come from? Tell me about it. I've been to one conversation and I've heard about the topics thereafter, and I always am irritated with myself that I can't always join. But the one conversation I did join was really good, and it was actually about gratitude. And so we also talking about gratitude today. Tell me about Doubling Down, please.
Okay, so the Doubling Down Connect, if I can just paint a picture for you. So about a year ago, I really started to kind of change the way I was thinking, what I was reading, and I decided to kind of own my narrative. And the more I did that, the more my conversations with my friends were changing. Suddenly, we're no longer talking about how drunk we got or, dramatic events in our lives, even though that's okay to talk about, that's your friends. But our conversations started taking more stance of what we want from life, really digging into deep emotions, embarrassment, shame. And I think it was about a couple of months ago where I started speaking to Craig and Kirsten, who I speak to most days, multiple times a day, about starting a platform. We didn't know if it was going to be a podcast or a Zoom call, but we wanted to start something where we could create a space for people. And so the Doubling Down Connect was born. Doubling Down taken from the whole Black chapter, where you increase your bets. So doubling down on emotion means kind of really focusing on that, really, really tunnel vision. You're going to work through this emotion, and that's where the name comes from. Transformation through conversation, be brave, be open, be social. Those are sort of our taglines. I think that for me personally, and you guys feel free to jump in, creating a space where one doesn't exist in our immediate vicinities. I know there's books out there. I know there's a lot of podcasts, but creating a space with our friends or locally where you can log on to talk about these things. And the biggest thing for me that I learned in going through my struggles is that the minute that I spoke about them, I realized that I'm not alone. And I think that's the most important thing for me, what the Doubling Down Connect does in sharing, what we've learned. We're not experts.
Yep.
So a lot of what we do, we feel a lot of imposter syndrome on, like, I don't feel like I'm a luminary on any of these topics, but it's in sharing that and that vulnerability with people that they open up as well and share. So it takes place every Saturday at 10 a.m. Central African time.
Yeah.
And it's for now it's a Zoom call, and I think we share resources. We try to bring it across in a fun, effective manner.
Yeah.
But I think the key for me, and if I speak for everyone else, is we usually do a run through. But I think it was this morning where we were like, what? I always encourage all of us to kind of just speak from our heart, because I think that's the most important thing. We don't want it to be too rehearsed. We don't want it to be something that comes across as robotic or whatever the case may be. But that's Doubling Down Connect. It's a space where you can log on to about a topic that all of us are going through, because again, I think that whereas situations are different and we can't always relate in situations, the emotions are universal. We all know what it's like to be hurt. We all know what it's like to be abused, to feel love, not in the same way, but the emotion and the feeling connects us. And that's why we wanted to connect with people. I'm not sure if anyone else has something to add.
Can I just add one small thing?
Sure.
Tiana, do you want to add something?
No, you go first, you.
I kind of feel like the magic of DDC, or for me, I've personally just found so much value out of it, just listening to the various conversations that the three of us have. The magical thing for me is really just that emotion. I think we've been brought up in a whole lot of societies, whether it be in a home, in a family, at the office, getting our first job. It's almost seen as a weakness to talk about your emotions.
Yeah.
And all of our emotions, whether it be going through abuse, whether it be being laid off from work, we're scared to speak about that emotions. And I think this platform kind of just brings across that emotion with a safe space, like Brandon said, for you to just share what is on your heart, and for you to be brave.
And so in this way, what I'm trying to do connects with what you all are doing, just creating a space where people can be really authentic about how they feel. And I suppose just learn from each other's experiences and see it through another person's lens, you know what I mean? And so I'm so grateful to have you on. I just have two questions, and maybe Kirsten, you can answer this because you've been so quiet already. With regards to doubling down. So if I was in Europe or I was in Indonesia or Asia and I wanted to be a part of this conversation, how would I then join Doubling Down's conversation? Anyone?
Well, I think that's something new that we need to probably experience, because at the moment we have one time slot, which is at 10 a.m. every morning Central African time, and we do have someone from America who does join, and he has to join at like 1 a.m. in the morning. So Doubling Down has been around for a month only, and I mean it's been really beautiful, and it's been growing really nicely. People have been participating, and I think this is something that we probably need to look at, having more than one session, but going forward. But we also maybe having thinking about maybe changing the platform to a podcast, although we do value the connection and the actual sit down Zoom calls. So we're taking a break this week, so we won't have a session next week. So it's probably something that we need to put into our drawing board sessions, where we may be looking at a podcast option or more than one session, Zoom call session, where we do incorporate different times so that we can have people internationally join. Because I mean, it's not only about South Africa, it's not only about Johannesburg, it's about the human experience. So we do want to involve everyone else. Thank you for that question. It's something really good to think about.
I think when I'm going to obviously share this on my Instagram as well, and then I'll just tag you guys so that some of my friends who are interested in joining. And obviously they can just also hit me up if they want to, and I can hit up Kay, and there we go. So that sounds good. And then just the last question with regards to this, the type of conversation or the topics that you'll cover so far, I have covered so far, is I remember the one being about gratitude, and then something about your ego, which I was like, this is such a good one. And then today you did covering your narrative side.
Is that mine or is it yours?
No.
Can you guys?
Can you hear me?
I think maybe what?
Can you hear me?
No.
Now
yes,
we can.
Okay, we're back.
So
okay,
last
me also.
I think you know what happens. There's a call to prayer, and whenever there's a call to prayer, there's an interference with the connection. So, but anyway, we're back. So we should be grateful that we are back.
Yes, we should be.
So I was just asking the type of sort of topics that you guys cover so far.
Yes.
Just like very quickly. Just sort of
what we covered so far, if I can just jump in. First one was cultivating gratitude more in uncertain times, also, which was so relevant. Second one was around self-compassion. It was such a good one. I think it was so well received. And entering the ego sphere, that one we did a week ago. A very hard-on kind of conversation where it's kind of difficult to grasp. It is breaking a couple of egos and really touching on blame shifting, which was quite interesting. And then today we touched quite a bit on owning your story. We are looking at various other topics like forgiveness. It's such a difficult one to also touch on, but super excited for that one, with various other topics coming up.
Cool. So it's really very relatable. People can really just really relate it, and that's great. And so what saying that I wanted to get into this conversation today, which was actually your first conversation and the first conversation I was a part of, and still very important to me, and something that I'm really trying to practice every day, and it's not really easy all the time, is gratitude, right? And so maybe let's just get into it by saying what is gratitude. Let's begin there very simply. What on earth is gratitude?
Very simply put, there's two parts to it. I don't want to say from my research because it's not my research, but from the things that I've been reading and picking up, it is having that feeling of appreciation. But there's a second part to that, very simply put, ready to show your thankfulness. So whether it is going to your mom and giving her a nice fat kiss on her cheek, it is writing a nice letter to a friend of yours on the other side of the world, jotting down how thankful you are for them. But it is also just that feeling of, I'm in a state of thankfulness. I'm grateful for where I am now in my life. But a lot of people miss that concept of that readiness. And I think the dictionary version says that readiness to show appreciation, to show kindness to other people. So that very simply put. I don't know if anyone else wants to share.
So go Brandon, please.
I think that for me, if I were to put a spin on it, it has meant that, and this is a conversation we can get into as we talk about why it's so difficult to feel gratitude. I don't want to jump a step, but it's kind of honing in and kind of noticing the small anecdotes in life. It's gratitude is about the small things, I feel, for me anyway, because for most of our life, constantly, so many factors are fighting for our attention. The news, social media, other voices, our bosses, our friends, and it's that clouded perception in our minds. So we fall into the state of scarcity where we never have enough. So for me, it's been really zoning in, taking the time out to kind of notice the things around me, like the laptop that I'm dining in on. The fact that I'm on this call, the fact that on my desk I've got hand sanitizer. Like the small things. And I think, when I started practicing gratitude, I got a gratitude journal, and I tried to make it fancy, man. Like, I've got to be gratitude for the grand things. But I thought, no, like, you need to practice it authentically. So even if it is the fact that, my skin's clearing up today, or, oh my gosh, like I actually, I got up earlier, 5 minutes earlier, or the fact that, I didn't make my bed, but I've got a bed. Those small things, the quirky things, that's where I find my authenticity in my gratitude practice. So for me, it's about the small nuances.
Okay, so it's, go, please go, Kristen.
Mind if I just jump off the back
Sure.
of it? And I completely agree with Brandon in the fact that it's the small things. And like he says, in the beginning, it's really hard to practice gratitude because in society we're kind of conditioned to take things for granted and just go. Like it's on to the next, it's on to the next, it's on to the next. And we struggle to just sit down and introspect and take stock of what we do have, take stock of the beautiful things in life. So it is kind of like exercising a muscle, starting off with small things. Today I have a cup of tea, which is really good. I had dinner today. The fact that I've got a roof over my head. I mean, I know it sounds cliche and things like that, but I mean, it is those things that you do have that you can practice to be grateful for. The fact that I've got time to spend with my sister, the fact that I could open my curtains today and see the sunshine. I mean, people in other countries don't have sunshine sometimes for months of the year,
Oh.
And here we go, even though it is winter, we have a beautiful sunshiny day. And the fact that I could be sitting here with you guys, the fact that I've got internet and I can speak with you and we can connect this way is a really beautiful way to practice gratitude. So it's starting small and doing it on a regular basis where you start building up your muscle of gratitude, like exercising. So I mean, that's just my take on gratitude, and I suppose all our takes filter into our conversation that we did have on the holistic element of gratitude.
Okay, so just maybe two things. So everything that you're saying, obviously I hear it, right? And I agree with it, and because this is all of the things that you're saying is also some of the ways in which I practice gratitude. But it's all fine and good when you have a home, and when you have a job, and when you have a car, and when you have internet, and when you have a good support a structure, and you don't have to worry about what you're gonna eat tomorrow. I go out into the streets over here, and I feel bad. Like, people don't live in the luxury, and I honestly don't have the most luxurious life, right? But the things that I have, I'm so grateful for. And one could define it, somebody could define it as a luxurious lifestyle. But there are people who don't love this luxurious lifestyle that I love. How do these people practice gratitude? Because when you're lying warm under the duvet, it's nice to say, thank you, Jesus. Thank you for whoever my creator, for my nice warm blanket. It's easy to practice gratitude there. But when you don't have those things, it's not as easy. So how are people who don't have a job, a car, a nice husband or wife, or good friends and nice resources to read from, how do they practice gratitude?
I suppose it is easier. I mean, if I could answer that, I mean, it is easier to practice gratitude because you have a home, because you have a nice warm bed and stuff like that, because you have it. It's amazing. But it's in the most difficult spaces where gratitude has the biggest power. So if you don't have a home, but you've got a blanket and you've got a jacket, if you're Christian or whatever faith that you are in, your God has blessed you with that jacket. It's a beautiful thing. Even though you don't have a home, you have a jacket that you can be grateful for, that you can be warm, and that's where it starts. If you don't have a jacket but you've got shoes, at least you're wearing shoes, and that is okay. You might not have the biggest car, because we all have different elements and different things in our lives, But if you've got that pair of shoes or that pair of boots, you've been blessed with it. So you can be grateful for what you have. And if someone then gives you a sandwich, you now receive something, nourishment that you can be grateful for. And gratitude is the element to receiving more. So even in those moments where you have the least stuff is when you can practice the greatest amount of gratitude, which then instills kind of an attraction process where you will be blessed with more things because you're grateful for what you have currently. You're not living in a sense of lack. You're living in a sense of appreciation, which ultimately does kind of fulfill that element of gratitude. And it also creates a sense of peace in your heart because you're grateful for what you have, even though you do know that you don't have other stuff in life. You might want those things, but living in a space of now and accepting and being thankful for what you do have creates a space of peace, creates a space of happiness, and could then result in being appreciative and grateful for more things to come.
I mean, if I can add on to that, maybe flip it on its head a little bit. One of the biggest things that I've learned with going through hard times is that gratitude is not only being grateful for the good. I'm not sure how many people are going to understand this, but for me, I find myself sometimes saying I'm grateful for the hardship, the abusive relationship I was in. I'm grateful for that because those were catalysts for me to then become who I now am and who I am becoming. Also, empathy is not finite. And I think that to add on to your question and to Kirsten's answer, I think that there's a responsibility then on us to maybe have more. For those who don't, to reach out. And when we know when the environment of empathy is created, more empathy is created. And you give that person hope that you can relate with them. So those who are less fortunate, I think there's more folds to it. Speak to them, empathize, because empathy it's something that it's contagious. You create more the more you give, the more you show. And I think that as a practical way for people who are feeling, I've got nothing anyway, what do I have to be grateful for? Then gratitude in its most, I think, truest form is I woke up
Beautiful. Yes.
this morning, albeit on the side of the road. I don't know how that person feels, but I can empathize with my thankfulness for opening my eyes as well on that level, better than sympathy. Because for me, I read somewhere sympathy fuels disconnection, but empathy drives connection. It's better to tell someone, you know what, I know what you're going through, and empathize, as opposed to, Shane, are you fine? That's worse. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear sympathy. And I think we say sympathy is a good thing, but it really does. You can make someone feel very isolated when you sympathize over empathy. Just to touch on those points, maybe to lend to answering that question.
So it sounds to me as if gratitude is always outside of myself. I'm always having to be grateful for things outside of myself, is this right? Am I getting it? Outside of myself. I don't know how else to ask this question. It seems as if always to be grateful for material things and my relationship with my mother. I mean, that's not material, but sort of things that I can touch, almost I can see.
External things.
Outside of myself.
If I can very, very quickly jump in there.
Please.
I think like we've mentioned, it is, yes, being grateful for those little things, the roof over your head. But I mean, if you don't have a roof over your head, what else is it? I made this example at the office. Like I was running this gratitude campaign before DDC, and I made the example that we've got parkrun all over the world, and a lot of us forget that we've got two little feet. That helps us to actually complete the race. So this is now more internal. So definitely, yes, those external factors do matter. The fact that you've got a family in your home. Some of us have family on the other side of the world, and you have to depend on a phone to to be able to hear their voice and be grateful for that. But just being grateful for some of the internal things. I think, like Brandon just mentioned, that then that can kind of become gratitude in its most rawest, its most authentic, its most simplest form, where you can, as you open up your eyes in the morning, that, oh, I got my two little eyes of grateful. You know, as silly as it sounds, it's,
Yeah.
you know, day after day, with the whole pandemic, people do not have, and I'll say it, people do not have the luxury of opening up their eyes. You know, when we can start with it in that most simplest form, all of those other things, like Kirsten just said, it becomes little miracles that happen every single day.
Yeah.
So,
I think,
yeah, no, it's not very much external only.
Is it possible that I can maybe just on Craig's mention there? Yes, the gratitude can definitely be an internal process, and I think it does work internally. We do kind of give examples to focus on external elements as an example, but it being grateful comes from your heart. Being grateful for something that you do have. It can also stem from experiences and emotions and things like that. I mean, each of us go through hardships and trials and things like that, and being aware of your experience and being aware of your pain and stuff, and being grateful for that pain, because pain and hardship is not a bad thing. It's not something to shy away from. It's something that is meant to teach you something that is meant to grow you, something that is meant to for you to understand something about yourself, and being grateful for that is a beautiful thing. Being grateful for the experience. I mean, there's as much as we've saying that we have a house and things like that, we do go through difficult times and difficult emotional experiences, and saying thank you for that experience, and saying thank you that you helped me recognize this experience, and I can now learn from this experience, and I can now show love and show compassion to other people because of my experience, and I am grateful for that. That is something internal that you can kind of hold on to and internalize and share gratitude for that specific experience. So it can be an external experience, but it can also be an internal experience as well.
Did you want to add, Brandon? Did you want to say something?
Just something based off what Kirsten shared with me a couple of years ago, and I brought this into my own life. I struggle with my weight off and on, and sometimes that can become very self-loathing of yourself. But and I don't know if you recognize the story, Kirsten. I actually started saying to my body, you know, to my arms, like rubbing them and saying thank you for, even though I've got a big stomach, like thank you for allowing me to eat. You know, it's those simple, silly things. And these affirmations sound crazy, but they are in your mind, you know. It's that mindset thing that the minute you actually like deliberately say it out loud, thanking your double chin. I mean, it's funny, but it's there. You know what I mean?
I love that.
That for me is because we are our brain, right? I see it as this is everything operating is our brain right now, but the rest of it is organs. Like that's the reason I can talk is because of my vocal cords. Like break it down, and it sounds silly and it's taxing, but it's worked for me. It's like so much to be able to. It's helped my self-esteem. You know, it's helped me just kind of appreciate more of who I am, because when I see documentaries where there are people living their lives who don't have a stomach, and they've got that bag hanging outside of them, you know, they can't eat properly, they don't have that. I really see if this person who doesn't have all of their limbs is, you know, and I am here, you know. And I think sometimes it does take for the more privileged, for, you know, our people who, some of us who do have some things that people don't have, when we see it in front of us, you know, we are then reminded, and that's what worked for me to kind of make it a more internal practice.
Yeah. Just to say that for followers of Jesus as I am, right? There's this thing that we ought to suffer as Christ did, right? We should not that we should enjoy the suffering, but we should appreciate it because God has suffered for us in the same way. And so for me, absolutely, when I find that I'm most grateful during the times of suffering or the difficult seasons in my life. And I begin to draw closer to God, and that as a result I become more grateful, right? So it's just this like ongoing cycle when you begin to come into yourself and say, right, I want to be grateful today. It's like you say, it's this domino effect, right? So
it must be practiced. It must really be practiced. Person started off this talk saying it's a muscle. If someone is trying to work out at the gym, they can try just walking into the gym and walk out. Nothing will happen. They have to you know, doing those lifts, and that is what the gratitude, as soon as you practice it every day, that muscle becomes stronger and stronger and stronger. You can lift up heavier things You can go through the most difficult times and things can be thrown at you like, I'm grateful, I'm grateful, I'm grateful. Yeah.
That's so
Thank
good.
you. Bring me through that. Yeah.
Kristen, you said something that triggered something in my mind. You were saying sometimes we get so busy and our life gets so crazy. So is there space for gratitude and busyness together? Is it able to coexist, gratitude and busyness? Is it possible? Because
There's
I
always
think everybody is always busy. Craig asked me to join your conversation this morning. I was like, yo, I've got work, da da da, blah 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 blah, and you know.
I think that we are always busy and life is always busy and we're always busy and we always like busy. I think that always being busy is a disservice to yourself. So I would say that gratitude and being busy is they don't coincide with one another. At some point you have to take stock, be still, and just be thankful. You know, even if it's 5 minutes, create the time for yourself to be thankful for what you have, to be thankful for your experiences. I mean, I am not the greatest Christian and stuff, but I mean, you hear people say, or you hear the Bible, and it's be still.
Yeah.
You know, take time to just experience what you're experiencing. Take time and take stock of what you do have and what you don't have, and be grateful for that. Being busy all the time blocks you from that. It takes away from seeing the beauty. It takes away from being grateful, because you're always on to the next. You're always on to the next. I need to do this. Then you do that, and then you're on to the next, and you do that, and you're on to the next, and you do that. So you don't create time and space for yourself to be grateful for the stuff that you have. So, for example, let's say you go to work on Monday and you go to this big meeting where you need to present something. So for the whole of the weekend, you haven't paid attention to anything else but this, because you've been working on it. So Monday comes and you do this big presentation, and it was amazing, and you were a rock star. But now work has to carry on after the presentation, so you need to carry on with the rest of the day, right? So you forgot to take stock that you were a rock star. You forgot to take stock that you sat over the weekend and you worked hard on it. So you need to pat yourself on the back and be grateful for the fact that you were able to read, and you were able to write down the things, and you were able to perform the way you performed, and you took the time to go to work, and you took the time to present the way you presented, and you were amazing. And you forgot to be grateful for that. You forgot to celebrate that. So you do need to take time, still yourself, and appreciate those things, and then move on to the next.
Brandon,
yeah,
do you agree
I
that
can add on to that?
I was going to say, Brandon, do you agree that you need to pause?
Yeah, I do. I think what's been revolutionary for me is, and this is where I think, like I said, it's a muscle. Anyone can cultivate gratitude, but you've got to create an environment where one doesn't exist, right? And so I think that for me, practices like mindfulness, practices like a gratitude journal, creating space, for yourself deliberately, because it's not going to happen on its own, for me has been revolutionary in taking stock of my day. I think that it's so important for me when I'm able to just sit. One of my favorite things to do is just lay in my bed, listen to white noise, and just like the silence, and like think about my day. You know what I mean? Because it makes things so much more clearer. Every night I will write the gratitude journal. So I think it's important. You can cultivate that stillness, but it's deliberate. Something Craig suggests is the gratitude snowball, and I think this works well when you're busy. And I'll share it, like example Craig always makes is he was in traffic one day, he was busy, it was raining, his mom was everywhere, and he deliberately was just like, what, I'm thankful to be in traffic, I'm thankful to be in the rain. Okay, those kind of things where you take in that situation and you're just snowballing, deliberately finding things around you. What it does for your like neuroplasticity and your mind is, because I struggle a lot with scarcity, like never enough. I mean, I online shop like crazy. I'm always looking at what's next. I've got this. It's that have one cycle. When I've been able to really just out loud to myself say, I'm thankful that I've got the life that I have. I think in a pandemic, I mean, I'm just thankful for my health and that of my families, because we're all high risk. My parents are in the high risk category, and I'm in close proximity to them. I see them every day, and I think it's times like these, like you were saying, times of struggle. It really brings us to that point where we have to, that we think about things to be grateful for, but on the point of they can't exist. Yeah, they're completely mutually exclusive. Gratitude and being busyness. You have to take the time out, because you have to take the time out, and this lends itself to self-loathing, self-esteem, self-compassion, all of that. You have to create a space. So I do think that whereas they can't exist together, you can create space in that busyness, even if it's 10 seconds, because that can change your day.
I'm always curious about, because gratitude has been a buzzword, right? It's really in the air at the moment. I think it's just because of the pandemic, right? People are trying to cope and find means to cope, and so gratitude is one of those ways that people are coping. But something that I've heard more recently as well is just practicing acceptance. And so, is there a difference between practicing acceptance versus practicing gratitude? Is it the same thing?
I can kind of jump on that. That is a really hard question. I know people say accepting your situation or accepting what is going on means giving up and stuff like that, and that's not what acceptance is. When you're going through something really hard and things, and people say accept the situation, it means being okay with what is now, so that you're at peace with what is happening, so that you're not having an internal struggle. Because let's say you're struggling externally already. Let's say your relationship with someone, your husband or your wife, is really difficult right now. You guys maybe argue a lot of the time and things, and it's not okay. It upsets you internally. And when you accept that this is the situation right now, I am maybe not in a good space with my husband right now or my wife right now, and I need to I know this needs to change. It's okay. Being calm with the situation, so that when you're going to the shower and you're driving and stuff, you're not fighting internally with yourself like, yeah, I should have said that. I don't know why we're always fighting. This person always does this, that person always, and I can't handle it. So you're creating strife within yourself already. So going forward, you're going to create strife in an external situation again. Accepting the situation, so that it's like you're in quicksand, for example. Fighting the quicksand helps you sink quicker, versus when you stay still, it allows you to assess the situation. Accepting the situation makes you assess it, looking for a solution. So you're probably going to look for a branch or whatever to pull yourself out. So accepting the situation with a difficult husband or wife situation is the same thing. It allows you to take stock of your feelings, take stock of the situation, take stock of the person, and then find a solution between the two of you to then deal with what you need to deal with. And then in that space, you can incorporate gratitude as well, because you've now accepted the situation. You do know that it might be a difficult situation, it might be an unhappy situation, but in this, what can you be grateful for? You can be grateful for the fact that even though you guys are arguing, you are still talking. Even though you guys are arguing, you still love one another. You still want to be there, because you can't be fighting with one another if there isn't some form of emotion. You want to participate, so you can be grateful for stuff like that. So they go hand in hand. They are separate concepts, but they do go hand in hand. Accepting the situation allows you to experience or see the situation in neutrality, and then being grateful in it allows you to see the silver lining in any bad situation, if I can put it that way.
Yeah, I totally, agree. So I think that acceptance goes away in cultivating an environment for gratitude to thrive in, yeah, that's how I would see it.
So just, this is now for myself, right? Because this is the point for me to really reflect things out loud. And so just go with me, right, as I reflect this. So if I'm practicing acceptance, I'm saying it is what it is. This is how it is. This is what it is, right? And now I can begin to be grateful. But does that mean, especially for someone like me, I'm very ambitious. I really go after what I want. In terms of achieving, I work hard. But now, if I'm accepting gratitude, does that mean that my ambition goes away, my drive goes away? Because I'm saying, yo, I don't have furniture in my house right now. It is what it is. I'm so
I think,
grateful that
yeah,
I can sit in the pool tiles. It's so hot in Indonesia. I can sit on the pool tiles. I'm so grateful. Does that
yeah,
then mean I don't need to buy furniture because I'm grateful that I can sit on the pool tiles and I'm accepting the fact that I'm
yeah.
sitting on pool tiles?
I
can I
honestly like. Do you want? Okay, I'll just quickly.
no, you go friend, and then I'll jump on the back of that. Go ahead, go.
I think, you know what, for me, I think it's very easy to see it as copying out, like settling for less. For me personally, and we did a talk on this recently, perfectionism versus healthy striving. I think to take a step back, you know, this is where self-compassion comes in, you know. So we're not saying that being grateful and acceptance means, you know what, I can't lose this weight. Like, I'm just gonna now, it is what it is. You know, it's cultivating that self-compassion, which is a whole different conversation, you know, and moving from perfectionism, all or nothing, to healthy striving. So it's like, you know what, this month I might not have that couch, and I haven't saved enough for it. You know, I went out partying, but you know what, I'll put that aside, and step by step I'm getting there. It's kind of, I feel like, you know, acceptance and gratitude and being easy on yourself is not that. This is where accountability comes in for me, you know, and you have to have that self accountability with yourself. You have to have that healthy dialogue with yourself, creative with yourself, in order to go forward. And that can be very like destructive if you have this whole attitude, and I can easily see how that can be misconstrued. But for me, I think this is where other tools come into play, you know, having that self-compassion. Kirsten, you can jump into this, having that healthy striving attitude in yourself, and seeing it as a stepping stone rather than the end and be all, you know. um Coming to creating your and that goes a long way in creating your space. But I mean, Kirsten, you can add on to this. I'm not sure if you would agree to a certain extent.
No, I do agree with you, and sure, I love your questions. You really like on the hot seat here, but I mean, these are good things to be well thought and stuff like that, you know. What I want to say is that we all are ambitious, and we all want to achieve things and stuff, and sitting in a space of acceptance doesn't mean that you just resigned to accept your fate and not do anything else. If I can put an example forward, for example, I spoke to Craig and Brandon about this the other day. You're going to a restaurant, right? And it's an amazing restaurant. You love this place, and so you order your standard soup and stuff like that, and it comes to you, and you're with friends and things, and your soup is cold, right? So are you gonna be like, just accept the situation and like, oh, I'm gonna eat my cold soup, you know, like whatever,
I'm so
or you're gonna
grateful
get
for my
angry?
cold
We're gonna get angry and fight with like the manager, like my cold soup and stuff. I mean, that brings a lot of other stuff. Now it's your ego that's coming up. But it's okay to accept the fact, okay, I got cold soup. I don't want the cold soup, so I don't need to get angry about the fact I've got cold soup. Speak to the waiter, say, you know what, sorry, like you've given me cold soup. I know that you guys worked on it because someone did work on it. Just happens that it's a human error. People don't go out to mess up your space, you know. So I got cold soup. Do you mind bringing me a new plate of soup or heating up my soup? So you've accepted the situation and not creating struggle within yourself, because it's pointless getting upset and having an internal fight and strife with yourself. So that's what acceptance means, not having an internal struggle with the situation that you currently have. It's settling your mind, settling your emotions so that you can think of a solution. So yes, then you're going to obviously get your warm soup. So it's a way of taking stock of the situation, saying, this is where I am right now. I don't want to be here. I see it, and it's okay to be in this space. What can I do myself out of the space now? So that's what it is. So yes, you want your couch, you're in the space right now. It's okay to be in the space, but I'm going to get my couch. What do I need to do to now get my couch? What do I need to do to now get
Exactly.
what do I need to do to run the
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's really like not getting your couch is it's what did I want to say? It's your reality. It's the reality right now. It's not your life, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm. So this is always a thing for me, right? Like this is the one area in my life that I really struggle with saying I am where I am. I don't want to be here. And then this thing of should I be grateful for where I am, where I am right now, even though I don't want to be here? It's the struggle that lives inside of me, and I think this is one of the, for me personally, right? It hinders me uh, when it comes to practicing gratitude, because I feel like, what am I grateful for? What? Which is literally the topic of our conversation for me, is grateful for what when I don't have
Yeah.
what I want, right? Because I'm so ambitious
You,
all the time.
you
Go,
know
Craig.
what? When I see that the whole accepting and whatever, I kind of, these words just play on my mind. Being aligned with what is right now. So yes, it is what it is, and I shouldn't allow it to cause conflict within me. I think Kirsten mentioned that quite nicely. That you're not going to fight now with the waitress or waiter
Yeah,
and
yeah.
say, I'm never coming back here, and running them out on Facebook, and we all do it, and that's the ego. That's a conversation for another day. But Brandon also then touched on the perfectionism versus healthy striving. So gratitude isn't saying what, "Ah, it is what it is. Couch is actually not so bad. I don't need, like a TV, or I don't need with, another degree or whatever. If you are wanting to, move over to, whether it be a master's degree, PhD, and all of those things, how will you be grateful for all of those things if you don't see the beauty in your diploma and your certificates
Certificate.
and
Mhm.
little,
Absolutely.
there's I don't want to say those little stuff, because really it's people that have you know achieved these beautiful things through a diploma and certificates and little stuff. So when you are grateful for, oh my God, I've actually got like a couple of stuff under my name. So when I do go to the likes of American Express to maybe put down my resume or my CV, I can say, A, B, C, D, E, here's all my
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
certificates, and I'm grateful for that. It's just not saying that, no, I shouldn't, try and achieve a little bit more. It's seeing the beauty in what I have now. Because if I don't, then I won't be happy with my PhD.
Absolutely.
I
Yeah,
won't
yeah, yeah.
see the beauty
Yeah.
when I have my doctor's
And
degree.
then I'm gonna ask myself, what's after PhD? And we can never truly
Yeah,
be satisfied, right? This
But
is the thing.
but I think that this is where, for me, it's also been, I struggle with the very same things. The very same things. It's never enough, right? It's never enough money. The minute I get a raise, I want more money. A couple of months later, I'm complaining to my best friend about my salary.
Yeah.
But I think this is where all the outside forces, you really need to center yourself and kind of know that this is your journey.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we're seeing on Instagram, on Facebook, on the news, talking to people, seeing other people achieve things faster than we have, I think there's something really to be said about really just focusing on your own path, you know.
Mhm.
And it helps to read up on these people. Some of the world's big, but the greatest luminaries only really got on their feet in their 30s. You know, we hear
Yeah.
all these historic stories about Oprah and J.K. Rowling. Oprah got a show in what? She was like 30. J.K. Rowling wrote the first Harry Potter book at like 31, you know, and we're so pressured by what we see other people achieve, but that's what we see. We don't know that they are millionaires, but they still have an internal struggle of gratitude. It's never going to be enough for any one of us. I think most of us struggle with that. So for me, focusing on my own path, which is easier said than done, but also aligning myself with people who are on my same journey,
Mm.
and who are willing to be vulnerable and empathize and talk to me, and we can build a connection together. That helps, because it makes you feel like, because it can be very isolating to feel like I've given up, you know,
Yeah.
my parents are not proud of me, that kind of thing. So I think part of that is focusing on your own journey, but also creating a little community, a space, like with Doubling Down Connect, like with this school, where people are going to listen to this and watch this and see that, gosh, I wasn't crazy for thinking like, am I
Yeah.
ungrateful
Yeah.
for all of these things, you
Exactly.
know?
I Early on, I heard you speak. I heard you speak about affirmation to your body as sort of a way to practice gratitude. Is affirmation a lot of gratitude? Is that how does affirmation relate to gratitude?
So Craig, if I can maybe,
just hand in hand. Please join.
yeah,
I kind of feel affirmations and gratitude is very, very interlinked. But please
yeah,
add.
I think it's like those tools, you know, we spoke about this recently, where practical ways And one of to kind of cultivate gratitude and affirmation is one of them. I used to be like, I'm not crazy. I'm not going to talk to myself. You know, you see people writing on the mirror, you know, and it's a proven method. I mean, people who go through Alcoholics Anonymous and so forth and rehabs actually have affirmations that they say to themselves. It's part of they talk to their sponsors and sponsees. I think that it, from a perspective of, you know, we really are in control of what we feed ourselves, what we read. And so when I started feeding myself with positive affirmations and just reading things that fuel me, hearing the stories of others, it really changed my mind. It really, that neuroplasticity, the mind's ability to, like, you know, change as you change. I think affirmations go a long way, because believe it or not, it's that, like an old saying, if someone calls you stupid enough, you're going to believe it. If you tell yourself and affirm yourself with good things long enough, you are going to believe it, because, and that's going to form part of your truth, your new truth, you know, your actual truth. Yeah. My big cousin can speak more about affirmations as well. You know, I think it's important for gratitude.
I didn't get the question, sorry.
No, I was just asking, is gratitude affirmation? Can you be grateful without being affirming?
I think affirmations is a tool that you can use to cultivate. You can use to cultivate gratitude. I mean, being grateful in general is just saying thank you for the day, or thank you for opening your eyes. But putting down affirmations on a daily basis is a way to actually consciously do it, because I mean, we spoke earlier about creating a space and deliberately creating that space. So taking time out to write down affirmations of what you're grateful is a great starting point, and a great cultivating point on cultivating gratitude. So starting off in the beginning of your gratitude journey and writing down 5 things that you could be grateful for, and saying those every day as an affirmation until you start believing that you are grateful is a starting point for that. And then writing in 2 weeks time again, writing 5 more, and then moving on to 10 more, and putting down affirmations in yourself of saying that I am grateful for today. I am grateful that I can read. I am grateful that I can communicate. I am grateful that I have friends. I am grateful for the support system I have. Those are all things that you can write down. So it might not go hand in hand, but it's definitely an amazing tool to use to cultivate gratitude.
Cool. I think this is so important. I'm also one of those days I don't even have a mother in my house right now, but this is one of the things that I say to myself all the time: you're beautiful, you're strong. The Bible says you're this, you're a queen, you're chosen. You've been called.
True though, it's true.
Exactly. And I speak to myself all the time. I don't care if I'm crazy or I'm
same way we talk. Well, that's the thing. It's so easy for us to talk ourselves out of. We all talk ourselves out of situations.
Sure,
we need to talk ourselves into these situations.
That's so
we need to talk ourselves. Absolutely. Like, we have a tendency of, before we even, I mean, I'm reading this one book, Get Out of Your Own Way. Before we even enter situations that are bigger than us, we talk ourselves. That's saying, stop talking yourself out of rooms that you've earned the right to be in, you know? Sure. We need to stop talking ourselves out of that, and we need to talk ourselves into that, live in that kingness. Absolutely. Like Kirsten says, you know? It's easy to say than done, but the more you do it, you know, that dread is always going to be, dread's always going to be there. Dread, you know, we're born into dread and fear. We're conditioned this way. So it's up to us as humans, through these tools, through, you know, our faiths, through the friends we have, you know, we create our own worlds. And so a lot of me getting into the space has been by cutting out people. You know, it has been by taking my energy, and all of those things create that space of where gratitude can thrive, as opposed to, you know, fight continuously.
Yeah. Love that. So maybe a very important question, which I should have probably asked right in the beginning already, is what is the point of being grateful? What is the point? Why are we having this whole conversation to try and sort of help me through it and also help others? Why? What's the point of gratitude?
See, if I can answer from my perspective, right? I think we all have probably different perspectives of this, and I think if you're not practicing gratitude, how are you happy? Sure. If you're focusing on your lack, how are you happy? If you're telling yourself, I want this, I don't have this, I need this, oh, today is such a terrible day. You know what? Now I have to wake up. I have to work. I don't want to work. I don't have a car, so I can't even do this. I don't like taking the taxi. I want that jacket because I don't have that jacket. You know, this guy really just irritates me. You know, like if you're focusing on all of that, you're creating a life for yourself that is unhappy. You've now focused on that. So you are living a life that, because that is now your reality. You now
Existential. Yeah.
don't like you now don't like the person that you're working with. You now don't like your job. You now have to take the taxi and you're ungrateful and not liking the taxi. And granted, that is your situation, right? It doesn't invalidate it. It doesn't take your emotions away from it. It doesn't make it any less of an importance to you. But practicing gratitude allows you to live in that situation, but allows you to live in a situation where you create a happier lifestyle for yourself. So yes, you don't have a car, but you're taking the taxi. You can be grateful that you can take the taxi. You can be grateful that on your route, you could be meeting someone who might be instilling something new to you. You could be on your way to a job that you might not like, but who knows, in that taxi, you could be meeting someone who could be putting you into an interview for something else.
Come on.
Being grateful to wake up allows you to smile for the day, you know.
Okay.
Being grateful for your boots and your old jacket allows you to say thank you for what you do have. So it starts helping you instilling a life of happiness without focusing on the lack, without focusing on the negativity. So you bring in, or you start cultivating a space where you can be happy for what you have, and that then instills joy. So you create a space of
The domino.
acceptance, a space of love, space of of joy in general, if I have to put it that way, because now you've cultivated a space where your mindset focuses on the good, and you can only receive good if you're only seeing good. So your life then becomes a more positive situation. It creates joy, it creates happiness. And if you're sharing your gratitude, like Craig said earlier in the conversation, if you're grateful for your mom, tell your mom that you're grateful for your mom. If you don't have a mom but you have a friend, say thank you to your friend. Be grateful for your friend. Hug your friend. Tell your friend how much you love your friend. And that is then sharing your gratitude onto the next person. So you create a space of love and joy with everyone and in amongst yourself also. So yeah, it does instill and it creates a space of love and joy for your life, focusing on gratitude. That's just my personal understanding of it.
Craig, why are we grateful?
Just to, Kirsten mentioned like a couple of things there. There you have already turned your frustration in terms of your job or your taxi route to work. There you've already turned around your, how can I say, your outlook in terms of transportation and your career. Now that you mentioned things like telling your friend, I'm grateful for you, that elevates that friendship. So gratitude then instantly will start elevating your friendships. If you have, someone that you are dating and you say, you know what, I'm actually grateful that you helped me clean up the apartment yesterday. That person can then already reflect or emanate that same grateful feelings to you. So when you are, whether it be, coming home to your family after a heavy day of work, it's not from a point of, oh, here I am again. It is where the kids are running to you and say, hey, mom, or hey, dad, so happy that you're home. And you can then also say things like, hey, guys, I'm so grateful that I can come back home to all of this love and joy. And that already shifts that family dynamic. I'm always so silly example, but I've got two dogs, Bella and Maya, and back then when I used to obviously go to the office and come back after 8 hours, their tails are wagging. They are wanting to run around the house. I'm just literally walking into the gate and they are, carry on. They are running around. I'm like, are you guys so happy to see me? And that I feel like, it's sometimes too high of an ambition, but when you do get home and you're just like hugging your significant other, or getting into a meeting at the office, not hugging everyone. I don't think that's appropriate.
Not right now, not now.
When you can say, yeah, no, definitely not now. When you can say to your team at the office, you guys are sitting in a boardroom, guys, I'm actually so grateful that I'm with you on this project. That instantly connects you with
Changes
that.
the mood.
Right?
Yeah.
And yes, there's so many benefits to it. If I don't even have to go into all of the scientific benefits in terms of high blood pressure and you are having a less anxiety because you're grateful for where you are now. Yes, there's a pandemic, but I'm grateful for the fact that I've got my family, I've got my health, and all of those things. You start seeing the beauty. So many benefits. We'll probably end up being here for like the whole day if we go through all of them.
Brandon, do you want to add?
Yeah, I think being grateful is a brave thing to do. I don't think it's easy.
Oh, wow, love that.
And I think that
Yeah.
I think that it's easy for us to, as human beings, like blaming. We don't like pain, right? We don't like pain. So who can I shift this onto? And sometimes I've fallen into the thing of blaming other people. Like I don't have this
Like
because of you. I
potato.
mean, like my you know what I'm exactly. And I think that accountability is not easy. I think that dealing with emotion isn't easy, but it's worth it. So I think gratitude is a sign of bravery and a sign of courage. Because you are being brave enough to look at your bad situation and you're daring to find a golden nugget in there, and that can change your entire mindset. Particularly when you do look back, because I feel like perception is a function of experience. Like if I look back at my thing, I'm like, okay, so that wasn't so bad, because now I've experienced it. I've got a better perception back then. Like, why was I complaining? Like I always tell myself, like, why did I complain about high school when varsity was like so much more harder? I could have aced high school. You know what I'm saying? What was I talking about? So definitely, I think that the whole perception is a function of experience. It does change. The more you experience, the more you're like, you know what? It's not actually that bad. So for me, it's a brave thing to do. And it's not the easiest thing to do because we're taking on that pain, we're accepting it, we're accepting our reality, but also knowing that there's an element of hope in being grateful. I think that you have to have in your mind also. I'm grateful, but this also will get better.
So I'm taking that. That's so. For me, that's so powerful. I suppose it requires bravery to be grateful. I love that. That's so powerful. Thank you. Two more things, and then I promise that our conversation will be over because I really want to honor your time. This is so important to me to honor other people's time because I expect that my time be honored as well. So two more things, I promise. I just want to maybe make a comment to say that when we practice gratitude, it's not to say that we are ignoring the negative things in our life or the ugly or the hard things, or because I feel like when you hear people's optimistic people who are always optimistic or always positive or always grateful, it seems as if they don't experience struggle or they don't experience the ugly. But that's not true. We are just we are being brave, as you say, Brandon. We're just trying to live above that. Even though we do have it and it affects us, but we're choosing to channel it in a more productive way. Do you want to comment?
I suppose if you sorry, I'm like just jumping off the bed here. I suppose I also want to say that being positive and stuff is all well and good, but I kind of feel that without struggle, how do you be grateful? Because you can't recognize the good in your life. So I mean, in every human experience, all of us have struggle and stuff. I kind of feel that if you're always optimistic and you're just portraying the optimistic, you might be lying to yourself, and that's not a true reflection of your life. Because we all deal with emotion and we all deal with difficult situations, and it's in the difficult situation where you do cultivate and you do practice gratitude. It isn't an easy experience, and it is something that needs to be practiced and exercised, but it's during your hardship where gratitude does bloom. It can only bloom in a hard space, because your hardness helps you, or your hard situation helps you reflect on stuff that could be good. It doesn't mean that we did speak about the touch on accepting your situation, and that's so that you don't have an internal struggle with yourself. But you're definitely going to obviously change your situation if that is what you want to do. But it's through those dark moments when you do look for the light and you do say thank you for your experience. Only then can you cultivate gratitude. That's just my personal understanding.
I mean, for me, my dad's a lay minister, right? So I grew up in a very religious household, and there were times when I didn't even know that we were struggling, and my parents always like, you can't always praise God in the bad times, in the good times as well. No, not only in the good, but in the bad times also, you know. So gratitude, I think, can also be practiced in the good times, you know. Yes, but struggle, I think, is so important as a kind of breeding ground. I don't know if you guys agree with me, but I do think that in order to know the two, you must go. I'm grateful now for my failures because of where I'm sitting today, being able to talk for it. Whereas back then I lacked the perspective. Again, that's why I say perspective is a function of experience. I didn't know back then it was the worst thing to ever happen to me. And I really had a lot of conversations with God. I was like, I can't. I'm supposed to be, you know, serve you. I'm saved, all of those things. And so looking back, how that all things will work together.
Come on.
For the good of those.
We're talking Romans 8:28 now.
I think it's so true. I think it's so true. And it's so true. It's so true. And it's just, I understand now, you know, like, and for me, if I can take it further, like, I always ask myself, I always ask myself the question, what would I tell myself, knowing what I know now, what would I tell myself back then? I think that's an important question within the gratitude space, you know. Half the things I stressed about, guys, and went through, I'm like, piece of cake. Like, look at me now, you know. Would I have been in the same place? Would I have decided to start doubling down Connect? And because I started doubling down Connect, I'm grateful for all that bad. In fact, I wouldn't want to do it any other way. Right. So, you know, that's just adding on to that.
Cool. So, oh my word, you guys are just so insightful, and I love it. And it's so good that you all are not experts, because experts are always going to speak on research, right? They're going to speak on research, on what they've not experienced, but what they've looked up for themselves. And I love that this is so, you're speaking from a place of, I've experienced this. This is what I know to be true for me. And so maybe you can learn from that too.
So while we were meeting yesterday, the internet and electricity was a problem, and some of the very pertinent things that Brandon and Kirsten and Craig were sharing with us sort of got lost in translation, with the internet and the electricity being a problem. And so I just wanted to share with you exactly the very practical things that they had shared with me yesterday on the call. Brandon had said that he does a gratitude journal, so he literally comes home and he writes down at least 3 things that he's grateful for in the day, and at some point he sometimes reflects on those things. When he's really had a difficult day, he'll go back to read some of those things that he's journaled before. Craig shared that he does a gratitude jar, and so it's literally to write down those special things, like his mom's come to visit, or he appreciates his mom, or something like this, and he pops it into a jar and he collects them, right? Just he puts them in the jar and he collects them, and as time goes on, the jar gets fuller and fuller and fuller, and he's going to use that and open that on a very special occasion. So maybe on Christmas, or maybe on New Year's Eve, he's going to open that, and just with his family and whoever's around him at the time. And I thought that was a really cool idea. And then Kirsten, she says that she practiced mindfulness. So a very practical example of this that she was sharing with us is, so instead of, when she's coming home from work, instead of having to feel like, oh, she has to cook for the family, or she's so tired but she has to spend time with the family now, she says that she gets to spend time. She thinks about it like that. She gets to spend time with the family and she gets to cook for them. And I thought that was so powerful. And then she also has a gratitude app on her phone. So there are many ways, there are many applications. Depends on what kind of phone you have, obviously. You just got to look them up in your Play Store or wherever you download apps from. And so that's also very practical and very useful.
I love that. And this is so important to me, is to be able to, whatever I'm sharing with anybody in this space, right, is that at the end of the day, there's something that I can always take out of it that's really practical. So I'm very mindful of my thoughts. I try and be very positive, or say to myself and speak very positive things, talk myself into situations, as Brandon says. So I do that often. And then, but I've not done this gratitude jar. It's almost weird for me, but I think to be intentional about it, I can definitely do that. That's great. So guys, I want to say thank you. It's so unfortunate that the internet has become a problem toward the end, but I think that there was a lot of really good things that you guys shared with me. And in fact, we just tell you, right, the cost of a therapy session in South Africa is around, with the private doctor, is around 822 rand. But this is this is 2 gigs of data.
Yes, yes. No, I agree with you. This is
Over an hour long.
this is therapy. This is exactly this has done so much for me also today. So thanks so much for the opportunity.
Yeah,
You know.
I've loved it.
Thank you
So
so much. Craig, I think the last time I saw you, we were at university, you know, and that was
Yeah,
like
backpacks, books, Lord.
so it's beautiful to see you grow, and it's beautiful to see the people that you are aligning yourself with, and the type of circle of thinking that you are surrounding and insulating yourself with. It's beautiful to see how people are growing, and just to have you pour into my life along with your circle I appreciate it so much. So thank you guys. Thank you for doubling down. I think
for having us.
absolutely. Please always send me the link for doubling down. If I can join, I definitely will. So thank you so much, Kirsten. Thank you. I'm sending you love, and I'm sending you light. I'm sending you lots of energy, and I'm sending you a big hug of gratitude. So thank you so much, right?
You can feel it. You can feel it.
Stay safe in South
so
Africa,
much.
please. Thank you.
Yeah,
Have a good afternoon.
You too. How do you say goodbye in Indonesian?
It depends on the time of day, but so you can, right now we say selamat sore.
Selamat sore.
Thank you so much. This was really an awesome experience. You asked some really deep questions.
We're always stretching, right? We're always stretching, and this is so important to evolve as human beings, is to stretch. So I'm grateful that I could pour and add into your life, and thank you for adding into my life. And so thank you and goodbye. Selamat sore.
Thanks so much. Bye.